From Wall Street to Main Street, this is Lalate.
It's a big evening of Evenings LA with incredible great news about your fourth stimulus check updated 2021. In this recording, we'll go over those monthly big checks that are proposed in this $3.5 trillion recon. Cluster number 1, 2, and 3's checks pay you upwards of $15,000 across the board. Meantime, the push to add a $25,000 check on top of that. The push to put a monthly stimulus check on top of that as well. And now the push from Bob Casey, you're hearing for the first time in tonight's recording, to include SSI and SSDI additional money on top of that as well. Wow, a lot of things are heating up. Meantime, Pelosi, Bernie Sanders, and Jalapal talk about the recon. I have the latest details of what they're saying and how they're making modifications across the board. Then we turn to student loan debt forgiveness with another round of debt now forgiven. It's big. Elsewhere, the president dedicates more time to the LA ports, opening them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to help curb inflation. I have the latest details. COLA heats up, as now your benefits from Social Security to SSI will go up an additional 5 to 6% guaranteed in the next few weeks. Wow, that is exciting. Meantime, we have the latest details about what is happening with dates, what is happening with the recon, and what is happening with third stimulus, because as we go into the weekend, we have a lot happening. A lot going on with a $15,000 recon that'll pay you across the board, plus the insertion of a stimulus check, plus $25,000 on top of that, plus Bob Casey now including items on top of that for SSI and SSDI on top of the now confirmed COLA raise of your benefits for 6%. A lot of money, a lot of details. And it's all coming up tonight in a major breaking news report on a huge Evenings Lalate. I hope you're having a beautiful day wherever you are. It is a huge night with a lot of breaking news across the board. Boy, I'd never seen a day like this with so much happening. We have that recon, 3 clusters of checks passed in a House subcommittee that would provide you about $15,000 if you view this channel. I'll go over all the incredible details. Then the insertion of a $25,000 provision on top of that. Yeah, it's hard, cold $25,000 of cash. Then we got those IRS monthly stimulus checks on top of that coming in play. We have the incredible details as Bob Casey reveals today. He's going to try to get more money for SSI, SSDI, and seniors on top of that. And this is after the news coming in the last 24 hours that COLA will be coming in at 6% approximately, raising your benefits up in the next 90 days, guaranteed. This is done. It's sealed and signed and not getting peeled. Then we go over the negotiations, what Bernie, Jalapal, and Pelosi said in the last 24 hours. The President of the United States opened the ports here in Los Angeles 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to curb inflation. And then we have other surprises across the board, like the student loan debt forgiveness, getting another round of forgiveness. And we got those details, plus fifth stimulus, plus third stimulus. It's a big recording, and it starts right now. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. There is a lot of details in tonight's recording, so get that pen and paper ready, because we're cashing checks here. Not tracking checks. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Let's start first with 3 clusters, rounds of checks in this $3.5 trillion recon that they have now passed in a subcommittee of the House. That'll pay you about $15,000 a year if you're a Purple Power or Hawk of this channel. Let's go over all the incredible details, starting with the first cluster, hazard pay. And $4,000 of elder care. Wow. What did they get in there? They got in their hazard pay, brought in the old earned income tax credit, and increased the amount of money. This is big for essential workers on an annual basis. $4,000 of elder care got in there. $4,000 of young children's care. Free money to repair the home. Yes, totally free. Not a loan, but free money. And that's if you're in a low-income community. Then they got $51,000 of monthly stimulus checks in there as well. This is huge. The CTC got broadened. The child tax credit. How much? Up to $300 every month, every year. Up to 18 years if the household is low income. That is $51,000. Then they got money in there for college students. Grants to them, grants to the university, and the Pell's grant, made tax-free. Then, also in this first cluster passed from that House subcommittee, money for bikes, cars, and trucks. All electric, all U.S. auto manufactured. Up to 15% of the purchase price of a new electric bike. Then $7,500 for the purchase of a new electric car, and a little bit more if it's for business use or it's a truck. Well, before we get to the second cluster of these three clusters of checks, which pays you upwards of about $15,000 annually, let's cut to the big surprise that no one saw coming with an additional $25,000. Yes, this is hard, cold cash, and it's coming from three legislators, Maxine Waters, Sherrod Brown, and the incredible Raphael Warnock out of Georgia. They propose legislation to be added to the recon, not in there yet, that would pay you $25,000 of cash upfront to go buy a home. This is huge. And this means that if you're a new home buyer, you would get $25,000 of cash to go buy the home. How do they think they're going to do it? Not particularly clear yet, but my guess is that during the escrow to purchase the house, the HUD will provide $25,000 directly to the seller so that your burden will be reduced by $25,000 in the escrow. Wow, incredible, great details. Then let's cut to the second cluster of checks. And what's important to remember is that this recon is for everyone. It's for single people. It's for married people. It's for SSI and SSDI. It's across the country, red, blue, purple states. Everyone qualifies for these sums of money. And the second cluster includes more home repairs and also paid leave. Well, in the second cluster are paid family leave, paid medical leave. How much is that? A lot. $1,700 a week if you make $70,000 or more per year. Cut it in half. $800 a week if you make $35,000 a year. Cut it in half. $400 a week if you make $15,000 a year. Paid family leave, you have to stay home because your wife is pregnant. Paid medical leave, you have to stay home because your son broke his leg. Then they got in there household tax credits, child care program tax credits, more money for seniors covered also in the third cluster, and then they got in there checks to weatherize your home. Yes, more checks to weatherize your home. More checks for the home. Weatherize your home, definitely needed to weatherize your home, especially if the moderate Democrats are on the roof. As I always say, keep the moderate Democrats out of the House, and whenever possible, keep the moderate Democrats out of the Senate. There we go. Then they also got in there pre-kindergarten totally free and tuition-free community college across the board. Before we go to the third cluster of checks, what is Congress doing? Well, Congress had a lot of statements to make in the last 24 hours. First, Nancy Pelosi made a very interesting statement yesterday. So did Bernie, so did Jalopal, so did Steny Hoyer. I got all their comments starting right now in this supersized Evenings Ally broadcast. First, Sanders says it's absolutely incumbent upon the senators and a few of the members of the House in opposition to start telling us what they want. Why does he say that? Because a series of moderate Democrats have been really silent on the recon. They don't say they're against it, but they also don't say what's going on. They're sort of silent on the situation. Kristen Sinema says she doesn't like prescription medication, and Joe Manchin says he doesn't like climate. But other than that, we don't have much clarity from these legislators. That's why Bernie Sanders also, in the last 24 hours, said, I'm not going to negotiate against myself. Why? Because he says, I don't know what the other side still wants. Then, the incredible surprise that no one saw coming was that Pelosi did sort of a diplomatic move yesterday where she said, we have two ways to modify the recon to bring it from $3.5 trillion down. One is keeping everything in there as it is, just shortening the duration, the idea that I said that should be done. And also the opportunity to just remove programs and shrink the package. Well, Pelosi says we have some important decisions to make in the next few days, meaning that she may have those decisions made by the end of the week. At $3.5 trillion, we're doing everything well. We're still trying to get a couple $1 trillion, but it's still there. And then Steny Hoyer says it takes everyone a lot of responsibility to make this happen. Meantime, what about that surface transportation extension? You've seen this on this channel over the last 2 months. It was used as a way to call the vote on the roads and bridges last month. It's a faux deadline, the surface transportation deadline. And guess what? That's what Jalopal said yesterday. Jalopal also repeated my statement that the way you get this done is by just shrinking the duration of the programs from 10 years to 5 years. Then let's turn to the big surprise that Bob Casey had for us that no one saw coming. He's a senator. He's a Democrat. He's 61 years old. And he's from Pennsylvania. He is proposing $250 billion to go into the recon that's not there yet to provide extra money for older people, seniors, and also people on disabilities. This is a game changer. And he says that within our caucus is required to repeat constant repetition. Bob Casey, why do you keep on recording the same video? Yeah, there you go. Why does he think this is great? And why do I think it's great? Because he thinks that a lot of people who are providing for seniors are their sons and daughters who have to stay home from the workplace because it's too expensive for home medical care. Now, under this proposal, he would provide home health care so the son and daughters can go back to work and not have to care for their parents during the day, solving the problems of labor shortage and also providing incredible relief and more money in the hands of seniors. This is for stimulus. This is not for stimulus. Wow. And then finally, the Port of Los Angeles, the big news about that coming up in just a second. But now let's cut to the third cluster checks. This is the third cluster checks passed in that House subcommittee 2 weeks ago that pays you about $15,000. If you view this channel, I'm going to show you how to get this money, about $15,000, when it becomes law. This third cluster has money for seniors and money for free internet, and I got a world exclusive on this one as well. Free school meals for all checks are in this third cluster. Cheaper prescription medication, checks for farmers, checks for free internet. Then we got checks for clean energy. We got checks for workers, and then like independent contractors, then checks for seniors, like dental checks, vision checks, hearing care, and lowering the eligibility age of Medicare. And here comes another world exclusive. And guess who this is courtesy of? Bob Casey again. Bob Casey's office tells Larica, a longtime viewer of this channel, that he's looking in this recon to reduce the Medicare eligibility age from 65 to 60. Wow, there you go. Cheaper prescription medication. What do we know about this one? This is the one of the two items that the moderate Democrats don't like. Kristen Sinema doesn't like it because it would slash prescription medication. Then finally, the free internet. How's that work? You just reach out to your city, county, and state, say, hi, I want some free internet. Oh, you do? The federal government can give big money to the cities so that they can offer you free internet. What's the username? It's McConnell Lobster 101. What's the password? You don't want my hairstyle, San Francisco 202. There we go. In a second, we got more coming up for you, but what is going on with Chuck Schumer? And what is going on with the recon? The recon is this behemoth of $3.5 trillion passed in a subcommittee of the House on a Saturday night by Sheila Jackson, your number 2 in the Progressive Caucus, 2 weeks ago. But it's not a bill. It hasn't been introduced to the House floor. And until it's produced to the House floor, it's still in flux. And guess who's wanting to add an IRS monthly stimulus check in there? Chuck Schumer. Chuck Schumer's office tells Debbie Applegate last Friday he wants to add it in there. This is after he told Donnie's wife the week before he's added it in there. How do they add something into a recon? Whether it's the $25,000 to buy a new home or the more money for seniors or those stimulus checks, how do they add it in there? House or Senate? First, the House. They can add it into the recon, currently still in that subcommittee of the House. Or they can add it before it becomes a bill on the House floor. Or they can add it after it becomes a bill on the House floor, but before it goes for a vote. Then, off to the Senate, the bill goes. The senators look at what they got from the House, and they may not like what's in there. And guess what happens next? A 2-day vote-a-rama. That vote-a-rama is 2 days of calling votes to make changes to whatever was in the House bill, adding stuff in there, modifying numbers, and who controls the vote-a-rama? Chuck Schumer. Who determines when things are called for a vote? Chuck Schumer. And who determines when things are going for a vote? Chuck Schumer. And who's also said he's going to put a monthly stimulus check in there? Chuck Schumer. This is a biggie. So there you go. Meantime, a lot of surprises across the board. And one of the surprises is the student loan debt forgiveness. A major announcement for student loan debt forgiveness. A major announcement for the ports. I recorded this earlier today, live on air on Mornings LA. The announcement came from the president minutes ago. This is big for you and your inflation. Then, a big announcement as your COLA, your SSI, your SSDI, your Social Security checks are going up a big amount later this year. This is guaranteed. It's actually law. It's not something that's pending in the recon. Then, I'll explain how that goes in hand with fifth stimulus starting to heat up. We'll be cutting back over to where they make modifications on the recon. Do they remove programs or do they shorten the duration? We have new updates about this. And then we have more exciting details about third stimulus and other items across the board. We're just getting started on a supersized broadcast, but here's a little bit about the community page. And guess what? That's what we're doing on this channel. Cashing checks, not tracking checks. And I'll be back with you in 60 seconds. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.lalate.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join Lalate Daily for the excitement of the new Lalate live daily. The excitement starts on mornings Lalate at 9 a.m. Home Lalate returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then afternoons Lalate at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on Lalate. And the excitement continues right now, live from taped from Santa Monica on a big, bold, beautiful evening across the board. We got a lot coming up in the second half of this video with student loan debt forgiveness, with a major announcement about your benefits going up a huge amount in this incredible change of COLA. Then we'll be turning to fifth stimulus. We'll be turning more back to these clusters of checks and what they're doing to get this finished and over the finish line. And then we have more exciting details you haven't heard until you found this channel today. It's a big recording and it's just starting right now. And this is Evenings LA, so subscribe. This is the channel where people are getting big sums of money, and in this recording I'll show you how to go into the weekend getting thousands of dollars. You want money? I'll show you how to get the money. And we're going to start right now. So subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Before the commercial break, we went over those statements from Chuck Schumer. Let's cut back over to Bernie Sanders' office. He is so impressed by your advocacy, saying that the viewers of Lalate have now called in at 1 million tops, advocating for the inclusion of those stimulus checks, and that advocacy has worked as Debbie advocate, getting the latest confirmation for that inclusion across the board. Now let's recap. Cluster number 1, cluster number 2, and cluster number 3 checks will pay viewers of this channel upwards of about $15,000. One of the things which I've done a lot of over the last year of recording this channel is showing Americans how they qualify for something. And there's always someone who says, I don't qualify for that thing. It's just not me. I don't qualify for it. Yeah, you do. If you're watching this video, if you got a third stimulus check, if you got a second stimulus check, you qualify for cluster number 1, 2, and 3. If you're on SSI, SSDI, you qualify for it. And I'm going to show you, when it becomes law, how to get upwards of $15,000. I'm now going to show you also the student loan debt surprise. The president has now forgiven more student loan debt across the board. First, the president initially forgave some student loan debt for individuals who became disabled after graduation. Their debts wiped away. Now the president's forgiving debts 100% for individuals who went into the nonprofit sector after graduation for at least 10 years. And the president's now wiping away all debts for individuals who went to go work for the government, city, county, state, or federal, for at least 10 years after graduation. Wow, that's a biggie. Also, the president now indicates this week that he'll forgive $10,000 of everyone else's student loans debts. Liz Warren and Chuck Schumer are still pushing for $50,000. With that, let's go over to the big surprise that no one saw coming with your benefits of COLA going up, with your benefits going up 5 to 6%. Wow, this is a huge one. If you're on SSI, SSDI, Social Security, railroad benefits, any type of benefits check you get from the federal government, like Social Security every month, your benefits will guaranteed be going up an average of 5 to 6%, because that is the new number for COLA announced by the Social Security Administration. This is a biggie. When I was recording the money about fifth stimulus in the month of August, I said that maybe the benchmark proposed inflation will be going to 5%. Now COLA is going to 5% because inflation is now out of control. This is huge. So look for that automatic increase of 5 to 6% on your check going into next year. We'll be cutting back to fifth stimulus in a second. But let's go over the dramatics of what's unfolding for this recon. A lot of details coming from Bernie, Jalopal, Pelosi, and more. First, Bob Casey is trying to add this additional provision for more money for seniors and also disability. And he says the way he's doing it is by repeating it on a daily basis. Sound familiar? Sounds like us, the Purple Power, advocating. He says that within our caucus is required for me to repeat it all the time. He's looking to spend $250 billion, and this would be funneled to you via Medicaid. Next, Bernie Sanders says one of the issues at hand with the recon is that the moderate Democrats don't give much insight as to what they want. And this is a familiar theme that's been covered on this channel over the last few months. They don't say they're against the recon, but they also don't say what's at issue. We do know Kyrsten Sinema does not like the prescription medication. Joe Biden doesn't like the climate, but what about the rest of it? That's why Bernie Sanders says he's cautious against negotiating against himself, meaning he doesn't feel comfortable coming down from $3.5 trillion if he doesn't know where he's supposed to go to if the other side's not moving. What did Pelosi say yesterday? Pelosi's in a rock and a hard place. She has to appease both sides, so I understand what she's doing. She basically said there's two ways to reach a parity on this recon. One, removing some programs altogether, or two, reducing the time frame. Pelosi said that we're looking to get it much less, and so did Steny Hoyer. It takes several people to get it there. First, let's go over what Pelosi said about the date. Pelosi is looking at an October 31st deadline, not by that date, but before that date, to call a vote on the recon and the bipartisan, using the surface transportation deadline for that date. It's a fake deadline. We all know it's a fake deadline. It was what was the issue back in last month. And guess who called it a fake deadline then and who called it a fake deadline today as well? Jalopal and myself. We all want to work as quickly as possible. Obviously, the short-term surface transportation extension can always be extended if we have to. So Jalopal says it's not a real hard deadline. You could extend it like they did before. So what did Jalopal say about Pelosi's approach to the two ways? Just what I said as well. When you're looking at a recon that's getting from $3.5 trillion to somewhere in the $2 trillion, you have two opportunities. Remove an entire program or reduce the duration. Jalopal said exactly what I said. Just reduce the duration. We reduce the, and oh, before I get to her quote, my goodness, this is amazing. I told you the last few days that I think most of the programs are at 10 years, coming down from 20 years when Bernie had it at $7 trillion, the recon. Jalopal confirms my number again today. I think I should change my middle name to Jalopal. Jalopal. So she says we will reduce the number of years because the universality of the programs and the immediacy of the benefits are absolutely critical. And that, frankly, it's more important to having it than having it the entire 10 years. Wow. So let's go over what's going on with that statement because this is very critical. You have a recon. And I was giving some exclusive reporting early this week that I thought that when Bernie went into the recon negotiations at the very start and asked for $7 trillion, he was asking for 20-year programs. We now have confirmation he generally was. He was asking for 20-year programs. Why 20-year programs? Why programs that pay out for 20 years? Because the president at the time was trying to say, I did a package, I did a recon that basically changed America for many generations to come. Not going to happen because he doesn't have the support to spend $7 trillion to go for 20 years. So Bernie, continuing the president's image, the president's desire, and also Bernie's ire, went to that recon saying $3.5 trillion, will run it for 10 years. They said, fine. A couple of viewers have asked me, well, if they pass the recon procedural, how can they change the price tag? It's a great question. Great questions coming in today, by the way, because they're not changing the recon procedural. They're just not approving the recon substantive. If you don't approve the recon substantive, then your recon just sort of falls apart. It doesn't go anywhere. So how do they get from 3.5 trillion to something in the 2 trillion? I told you how they did it. I told you how to do this last week. And then I told you that Jalapal co-signed it. And then today, she used exactly the same numbers. I had told you that 3.5 trillion is talking about programs running for 10 years. Jalapal said today, we don't have to have programs run for 10 years. Have them run less years and keep all the programs in there. And that's exactly what I think should be done. And it's very simple. Here's the issue. Here's an example. You have $4,000 of elder care, for example, in there, meaning every year you provide help to an elder, you get a check for $4,000. What are the two options as Pelosi addresses? One option, remove the whole program. You get Zippo. Other option, reduce the program. You get $200 a year instead of $4,000. Or other third option, the one I like, the one Jalapal likes, is $4,000, the full 100% of the money. Just don't do it as a 10-year program. Do it as a 5-year program. And that is what's going on. I think this is really where it's going to land. It's very simple. We now know, because of the reporting of this channel, because of Jalapal's statement, that most of the programs that are in this recon are about 10-year programs. Now, going back to those first 3 clusters I talked about, cluster number 1 and cluster number 2 and 3, I can get you about $15,000, most viewers of this channel, for all this money annually in this recon. Well, guess what? You would still get that 100% of the money, just not for 10 years of that amount of money, about 5 years if they shorten the duration. Very, very simple fix. So what is the pushback on this? 2 pushbacks, potentially. One, the president wants it to be very long legacy. He's not going to get it, so he really shouldn't hope for it. And number 2, Bernie is rightfully concerned that if you say, okay, I'll move the programs from 10 years to 5 years, keep all the programs in there, maybe add some more stuff in there, then we're in the 2 trillion. How do I know the moderate Democrats are going to agree to that when I moved and they haven't even said what they want? Very, very fascinating situation across the board. What the president really needs to do is come out and say, shorten the duration. He really needs to give sort of the guiding light. I understand that Pelosi wanted to be sort of the appeaser of both sides, saying we can do it 2 ways. But Jalapal rightfully said so, that Pelosi should have only talked about shortening the duration. We were happy to see the speaker say something similar in her press conference today, Jalapal said. Jalapal being very polite. She did not say, but I also heard Pelosi say she wants to remove programs. There you go. There's other concerns across the board, which are a little bit complicated, that when you shorten the duration of some of the programs, they may not get working right. They want to shore up Obamacare and Medicare, and if they shore it up with this recon, then doing it in shorter duration may not work. You can't have everything across the board. Meantime, I have great news, and I was just ecstatic with this news, and you should be as well. Let me go over the economics of the situation. If you're going to the market and buying milk, if you're going to the gas station and buying motor oil, if you're buying any product, you know how products you're buying have gone through the roof. Why? Because they can't get product out of the ports across the major parts of the United States. They can't get the product out of the ports. The ports are backed up. And if they can't fix the situation, the products are going to go are going to start disappearing, and whatever you're charging now, you're going to be charged astronomical inflation on top of that. So a big announcement that came today. I announced it was going to happen earlier today on Mornings LA, and the president announced it about 30 minutes ago, which is the Port of Los Angeles will now be open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for the first time ever to make sure that 80 ships that are literally backed up and no one's getting the product off those ships get out to you. Meantime, Walmart is dedicating an enormous amount of delivery ramping up deliveries by 50% to literally get the trucks from Walmart, the trucks for FedEx, UPS, Samsung, Target, and Home Depot to the Port of Los Angeles to get this product out to you. You may be listening in the middle of the West saying, what does this have to do with me in the middle of the West? Because the products come into the Port of Los Angeles from other places like overseas, and they can't get to you. They can't get to you, they charge you more money. You go to the store to pay for it, you say, I can't afford this. Suddenly your money is worth less. This is rampant inflation. It's called supply chain. And by solving this situation right now, it is a big step forward. Very, very exciting. All right, let's go to fifth stimulus because this is really wonderful news. If you're on Social Security, your benefits are going to go up 5 to 6%. Yes, guaranteed. Done. If you're on SSI and SSDI, your benefits are going up about 5 to 6%. What's going on? And how does this match with fifth stimulus? COLA was announced this week, and COLA is your current benchmark for benefits. Every year around this time, they look at COLA and they say, has COLA gone up? No, it hasn't gone up. Okay, your check will be the same again another year. This year, we have runaway inflation, and so that's helped bring COLA, cost of living adjustment, up higher. And boy, if I would have seen myself recording this in October, back in August, I would have just been shocked. I can't believe I'm reporting to you that COLA will be 5 to 6%. I thought COLA was going to come in at a measly 1% or 0.5%. It's coming in at 5.5%, which is astronomical. Because in August, I said under fifth stimulus, where they're looking to replace COLA with inflation in August, I said that inflation is going to 5%. You're now getting the benefits that most of the things we were talking about in fifth stimulus right now. And guess what? It's going to get better. Let me go over all the details right now. First, the way it's going to work is your benefits are going to go up 5 to 6% automatically starting after this COLA is applied to your check. This is guaranteed. But what about fifth stimulus after that? Let me explain what's going on. Fifth stimulus is a body of legislation. When do they vote on it? Maybe in December, maybe in January. Step one after fifth stimulus becomes law is they raise your benefits up a lifetime, one big time. So it doesn't matter if they becomes law in February, it becomes law in December. You're still going to get that lift up one time on top of the 5% for COLA or 6% for COLA you're getting later this year. Then they apply the new benchmark at the end of next year or at the end of this year. It's potential that it'll be the end of next year if they don't get this done by December. That is on top of the 5 to 6% you're getting from COLA right now. So example, let's say they don't get this legislation to a vote until January. You're going to get the 5 to 6% raise of COLA right now under the old system. Then when it becomes law, you'll get a lift up one big time if you're on SSI all the way over to railroad benefits or multiple beneficiaries. And then next year, if inflation is still red hot, you'll get another lift on top of that because once your benefits go up, they never go down. This is really huge. Why did this happen? In August, I said that inflation was going up and that inflation number going up may be upwards of 5%. At the time, Wall Street was looking at 2%. I was saying 5%. Now I'm undervaluing it because Wall Street is saying maybe go to 8, 9%. Yeah, so inflation is much hotter than they thought it would be. And it's also not going to be temporary. So that means that when they do this again next year, you may get another lift. It's getting very good, folks. Very, very good. Then they're going to remove the asset cap under fifth stimulus, remove the income cap, and remove the marriage penalty. And love is going to win, and you'll be doing a pair dance. And you'll be able to marry your longtime love interest and no longer fear loss of benefits. Let's turn over to third stimulus. Last night on Evening's Countdown, we had a fascinating chat in the live chat. One viewer got on the live chat and said, when are they doing this fourth stimulus money? And we said, why? What's wrong? She says, I have bills to pay. We said, oh, what type of bills she'd have to pay? She said, food. And suddenly, all the love of this channel, all the love in the live chat said, we'll help you get the food money right now because there's a lot of programs that pay for food right now. What I've always shown you on this channel is we're cashing checks, not tracking checks. And there was someone that thought, I don't qualify for anything. I have to wait for fourth stimulus to be passed to pay for my food. No. We can show you how to get big money for these items right now. So get a pen, paper, cell phone ready. I'm going to get you money for food, get you money for rent, utilities, mortgage assistance, appliances, refrigerators, furnaces, and more, holiday gifts, clothing, shelter, and more. It's starting right now. And this is what we do on this channel better than any other place on the planet. We cash checks, not track checks. And if you've seen me in the last year, if you saw me a year ago, when I was live on air, there was often one person, there was always, well, a few people, always in the live chat saying, There's nothing where I live. I don't qualify for anything. Yeah, you do. Yes, you do. I don't want you to say something like, my uncle's neighbor's hairdresser, plumber's sister's brother's car washer says you don't qualify for anything, so I didn't make the phone call. I'm going to show you people who have made 7 phone calls and got 7 pots of money approved and got $80,000, $100,000. You got to make the phone calls. You got to push because the money is there. And we're going to start first with rent. Here we go. 6 places to reach out to. They have different eligibility. They have different pots of money. If one says no, you reach out to the other ones. And guess what? Then I'm going to show you the keywords you see in this video, and then I'm going to show you the nonprofits, which also pay for rent with different eligibility. Okay, here you go. 6 places. City Hall, City House Authority. County Hall, County House Authority. State Hall, and State House Authority. And the keywords you're going to say are rent assistance because of COVID, mortgage or utility assistance because of COVID. I have one wonderful volunteer to the community page of 2020. She got rent last year. She got rent earlier this year. She's now gotten rent to next year. Viewers have heard my messaging, which is get rent into 2022. Get all these monies into 2022. So let's look at the graphic from a month ago. Here you go is what people were getting for rent. Nisi at $20,000 all the way up to Elizabeth $27,000. Jen now got $40,000. But guess what? If you're on this list, I want you to go back and get more money. I want you to go get more money all the way into 2022. And if the place you looked at says we have no more money, then go to another place. Now, about a week ago, I told you the importance of the Lalate newsletter. In the newsletter, I feature a message from Treasury, which details the $13 billion of additional money going out for rent to cities and counties and states across the country. I said, read that before you make the phone call, because guess what? They're going to say, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, this is what Prina did. She read it. She called the city of Austin in the state of Texas. Yes, a red state that often people say there's no money. She said, this is what I heard. This is the money. You know you have it. Where is it? They said, we do have it. I love her approach. And then she said, I want some of it. They said, good. You can have some from November to January, $6,000, 8 months of rent. She started last week with 0, and she ended the week at $6,000. That should be you as well. Next, we're going to turn to some money for utilities. If you got 5 utilities, reach out to all 5. They've paid different pots of money. And viewers are now getting upwards of $15,000. Then SNAP. If you qualify for a stimulus check, you make $75,000 or less per year individual, you generally qualify for SNAP. Eligibility is even easier than a stimulus check, and guess what? It pays a lot. SNAP is Department of Agriculture. It pays for food, and how much does it pay? A fortune. Mark's brother-in-law is getting $26,000 a year. What's going on? Everyone's SNAP benefits are going up an average of 25% lifetime automatically nationwide starting this month. Why would you not get SNAP? Then combos, get multiple items because there's lots of multiple items out there. Be $32,000. Here's Mark and Nisi. They got 3 items to bring them to $32,000. Here's Mark. He got 3 items to bring him to $51,000. Update on Mark, though. He's gone back and gotten a few more items. He's almost at $60,000. Here's Lorraine. She made the phone call. She got 7 to 8 items, $110,000. Margaret, who's always in the live chat, she got 2 items in the last 7 days. She's getting $700 here, $2,000 there. Every day she's getting another item. And then we have Johnny, who got 7 items in 5 days, $80,000. Now let's turn to the nonprofits. Nonprofits are absolutely incredible. First, the 5 nonprofits pay for the same items that are in third stimulus. The only difference is different eligibility. If you've reached out to get rent and you think you have an eligibility problem, lean on the nonprofits. Here are the 5 nonprofits: United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, and St. Vincent de Paul. The great thing about the nonprofits is that they also pick up for money that is not under third stimulus. They pay for small refrigerators, furnaces, portable heaters, clothing, people from homelessness into shelters. They pay for a lot of items that I don't even know they pay for. They also help with holiday gifts like Salvation Army. So why would you not lean on them? As that one viewer said, I need help with my bills for food. Reach out to SNAP. She said potentially she makes too money for SNAP, but possibly didn't ask the right questions. But even if that was the case, then she should be reaching out to all the nonprofits because they help with that as well. And here again are the 5 nonprofits featured in the newsletter: United Way, Salvation Army, Community Action, Catholic Charities, and St. Vincent de Paul. Finally, The other items which are important to remember is that you're getting 2 refund checks back from the federal government, IRS, and also state due to unemployment benefits. Lastly, if you haven't become a member, what are you doing? You need to become a member. The link is under the video. Members will deliver that newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, which is about 2 hours after the show, from me to them. It's written by me, sent by the YouTube alert system and the Lalate alert system, which is totally free, and you should sign up for it. It's underneath this video. It features all the big money on the first, second, and third stimulus. As we look back at fourth stimulus, it's great news because that fourth stimulus each year will pay you about $15,000, it looks like, so far. This is before any addition of potential monthly stimulus checks, before the addition of any potential $25,000 to buy a new home, before the Bob Casey provision to be added in there to provide more money for seniors and Medicare across the board. It's before all that. That money in there is very great. But we've been doing this since early this year. I launched Purple Hawks earlier this year, and I launched the newsletter. Why? Because as soon as third stimulus was passed, someone was saying, when am I getting my $1,400 stimulus check? I said, refocus, because under third stimulus, I can get you at least $15,000. I undervalue that as well. Average viewer has now got an average of $40,000 from third stimulus. The federal government's giving fortunes of money in these stimulus packages for you. Do you want $40,000 from third stimulus, or do you want a $1,400 stimulus check? When you look at fourth stimulus, do you want these big pots of money in fourth stimulus, or do you want to wait around and guess about something else? You want as much money as you can get, because that's what we do here. We cash checks, not track them. The link is under the video. Join today and get that newsletter tonight. And with that, let's go over what's important to know going into the new day. First, student loan debt forgiveness. Lots of student loan debt being forgiven. Another 2 groups, and the president now proposing an additional $10,000 on top of that. Second, Bob Casey proposing that SSI and SSDI get an additional cash infusion that would provide them more assistance, especially with home health care, that would grow it to $250 billion in just the recon alone for you. Then Jalapal, myself, and to some extent Bernie, saying shorten the duration of the programs on the recon. We don't need them at 10 years. We need a full check. $4,000 of care for the elderly, keep it at $4,000. We don't need it to run for 10 years. Run it for 5 years. Don't bring it from $4,000 to care for the elderly to $120 to care for the elderly, and don't remove it. Then the surface transportation agreement, not a real deadline, but certainly a deadline that helps us get things over the finish line. Then the exciting details as the president reopening the ports that could ease inflation across the board. That inflation that has been skyrocketing is helping now with that COLA lift. That'll show a big change of your Social Security and SSI and SDI checks in the next few weeks, 5 to 6%. And that's on top of this stimulus, which heats up thereafter, and that can be added on top of that. Finally, third stimulus, a lot of money for you to get, and that money is available right now. Refocus. I know you talk to your sisters, brothers, uncles, nephews, brothers, hairdresser, groomer, dog groomer, cat walker, who said there's no money in my state. Yeah, stop talking to that person. Pick up the phone. Remember, Johnny and 3 people of this channel started in the middle of started 1 week with $0 from this channel. By the middle of the week, they got $40,000. Not from one phone call, but from several phone calls. By the end of the week, Johnny got $80,000. From one phone call? No. From 2 phone calls? No. From at least 7 phone calls, because he got 7 different pots of money paying him in that 5 days, bringing him to $80,000. He would have had to probably call at least 9 to 10 different phone calls. Money is real, and that money is there right now. Get this money, because the money creates financial freedom. If you have any questions about where these things are, go to the community page. It's in the description of this video, and it's now been revamped to include assistance for finding the newsletter or basic things like finding a video. We have a lot of breaking news throughout the day and throughout tomorrow, and it's been a big news cycle today as well. Stay with me tomorrow with the latest breaking news, but first, I want you to always stay with me. Coming up next is Evening's Countdown, our wonderful new show. And then we go into Stream Stimulus, then Sirloin at 8, and then shows at 9, 10, and 11 o'clock. And guess what? Last night's 9 o'clock shows that started at 9 o'clock with a very first shows on Forced Stimulus. So now those shows that are going from 4 to 12 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, all the way to 3 a.m. in the next morning are all now Forced Stimulus shows. They're no longer just Third Stimulus shows because they now started when I started covering Forced Stimulus. And with that, subscribe. 400,000 subscribers, a YouTube record. I want you part of this incredible family. Hit that subscribe button right now. Like the video, 2,000-3,000 likes, and consider becoming a member. Stay informed, stay focused, keep on advocating, keep on pushing, keep on getting these big sums of money. I want you cashing checks, not tracking checks. And I'll look for you next on Evening's Countdown.